Brian Bentley. He's the author of a book called One Time, which we used to call the police girl at one time because you only need to see him one time.
That's it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show, Officer Brian Bentley. He is formerly of the Los Angeles Police Department, right?
That's right, formerly. Make sure you say that.
Yeah, all right. Well, because by the end of this show, you would have been formerly anyway.
Right.
Let me ask you something. Giuliani says that black people need to teach their children respect for law enforcement, which I think obviously all people should teach their children respect for anybody, but law enforcement included. What is it that police officers have to do? Because they never mention what they should do. What should we be able to respect for them, commensurate with the respect that we're supposed to give them?
Well, one thing, police officers don't respect black youth, and I mean that's a fact.
You don't think they do?
I don't think so. I had the opportunity. I've worked on the west side of town in Brentwood, Bel Air, and I've spent most of my time in South Central LA.
Right.
And the officers in South Central LA do not treat black youth the same as they do on the west side of town. You know, I think it's a give and take. In order to get the respect, you got to give the respect. And from my experience, it just doesn't come from law enforcement at all.
You think they just see us differently, or you think that they know that they can get away with it? What do you think is at the head of this? Do you think that it's because they feel like we're criminals, we're inferior? What do you think?
Well, I think it's several things. One of the things which is interesting is that when I became a police officer, when I went through the academy, and I wrote this in my book one time, that I was shocked that most of the police officers who were from like Iowa and Nebraska, they all wanted to go and work in 77th Division, which was
in Newton, 77 Newton in Newton. That was when I was growing up. It was always 77, which was a rough one, and Newton they were very rough.
Exactly. Rampart. Right, and they were from out of state, and none of them had ever been to California. None of them had ever been to LA, but by reputation, they all wanted to come and work in the ghetto. You know, they all wanted to work in the black community. And police officers consider themselves as hunters of men. And so they all know where the best place is to go and hunt. And the black community is the best place to go and hunt.
Wow.
And you don't, and there aren't a lot of complaints. I mean, I worked in West LA Division. You don't dare stop people and pull them out their cars. You work in South Central LA, and it's almost accepted. Actually, it is accepted.
I remember once, I grew up in LA, and I grew up in the unincorporated part of LA, and it was the LA Sheriffs. And they knew how, if you had dealt with them a lot by the way you interacted with them. Like if you got out and you said yes sir, no sir, if you knew how to respond to them, they knew you were housebroken. They knew that you were trained. They did. They acted a certain way. To me, it's an interesting analogy you make toward hunting. And I think that what people do is they project their fears and their bias. The things that people want to kill are the lions and, you want to kill the big game. You want to kill the big four. And I think for a lot of people, we could be included in that. A lot of people feel as if we are something to be feared, thereby something to be hunted, something to be killed. And there is no outcry. If there's no outcry that people will listen to, what is the incentive for that kind of behavior to stop?
You're absolutely right. There isn't any incentive.
This time, much like a police officer, we're not going to let you go. You're going to come back. you're under at least arrest or a suspicion of not doing the next break. We're going to be joined again for another break with Brian Bentley, a former cop, the author of the book One Time, the story of a South Central police officer. He's joining us, telling us some really, really interesting stuff. He's coming back for another break. We'll be right back with him right after Johnny Gill. It's the DL Hughley Show. Doesn't initiate a change. How come knowing that this happened?
Well, one reason is, I believe change comes within. I think a lot of people believe that. The problem that I see is that the black officers on the department don't want change. They don't see the problems that we see.
You mean black officers don't?
Black officers don't. We're trained, or they were trained, that we're all brothers in blue, and a lot of them firmly believe that. And it's rare. You'll find some officers that will come out and denounce what's been going on, but it's rare. And officers and the friends that I have, that I talk to, and I see on social media, they all condone what happened. What happened to Alton Sterling and
but maybe to them they are right. When you watch those videos, did you see a murder or a duty? Somebody doing their duty? Did you see
Well,
murder?
see, as being a police officer and a member of the black community, I saw several things. As a police officer, first of all, the first one, which was Alton Sterling.
Right.
First thing I saw is I saw police officers one police officer who was overzealous, who had some T.J. Hooker type stuff going on, and he decides to holster his gun, lower his head, and go and tackle, Sterling. He ran right in front of his partner's gun, just to do some stuff he's seen on television. And to me, that just shows that he was angry. He didn't follow proper procedure. And most unjustified shootings start with poor tactics and poor decisions.
If you could give me 3 pieces of advice that would keep my children safe.
Well, I mean, the obvious. You can comply. You have to comply with what police officers say. The battle is not won on the street. The battle is won after you get your ticket, after you're handcuffed and let go. Then you go and fight your battle in court. And another thing too, which is interesting, is most people feel that when they deal with the police department, they're dealing with some ignorant redneck who has a GED, who doesn't know anything about law. The thing is that when you battle law enforcement, particularly like LAPD, you're not just battling that one officer. You're fighting the whole city of LA and all of its resources. City attorneys, people who've been to Harvard and Yale, whatever law degrees. That's who you're fighting. That's who you're actually fighting against.
Mm-hmm.
So, and police officers are always trained. They're like brain surgeons. They're trained to violate your civil rights, to circumvent your rights. I mean, every day in roll call, the watch commander will go over sheets saying there was a robbery that took place, and it's a male black between 5'6" and 6'2", bald head with a mustache, and that gives you guys.
That's Skip. That's our executive producer.
Well, that's me. Jokingly,
no wonder you're suspicious of you. No wonder you think you're a suspect. I don't trust you now.
Right, my partners would, jokingly, they would always look at me and like, you still robbing people on the way to work?
They weren't joking. They weren't joking at all. And the third piece of information, what would you say, man?
I would just say, to get home safely, just, it's really only one thing, is comply, and hopefully you don't get a crazy cop,
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of police officers who are really disturbed.
Wow. Hey, man, thank you for joining us. I'm gonna pick that book up today. It is Brian Bentley's book, One Time, the story of a South Central Los Angeles police officer. You really enlightened us, man. And that light behind you is pulling you over. So I'm just saying. What have you learned is coming up next. It's the DL Hughley Show.